American Baptist, minister, and activist who became the most visible spokesperson and leader in the civil rights movement. He is best known for his role in the advancement of civil rights, using the tactics of nonviolence and civil disobedience based on his Christian beliefs. Martin Luther King Jr. shares his top 5 book recommendations on what helped made him a great leader and a role model today. Hey everybody, the Tempt here. Before we begin, be sure to click that subscribe button and turn the notifications on to discover the next top 5 books that might just be the perfect fit for you. That being said, first up on his list, Civil Disobedience by Henry David Thoreau. Resistance to Civil Government is an essay by American transcendentalist Henry David Thoreau that was first published in 1849. In it, Thoreau argues that individuals should not permit governments to overrule or atrophy their conscience, and that they have a duty to avoid allowing such acquiescence to enable the government to make them the agents of injustice. Thoreau was motivated in part by his disgust with slavery and the Mexican-American War. Sparked by Thoreau's outrage at the American slavery and the American-Mexican War, Civil Disobedience is a call for every citizen to value his conscience above his government. Within this 19th century essay, Thoreau explains government of any sort, including democracy, does not possess more wisdom or justice than its individual citizens, and that it is every citizen's responsibility to avoid acquiescence. More than an essay, Civil Disobedience is a call to action for all citizens to refuse to participate in or encourage in any way an unjust institution. Next up on Martin Luther King Jr.'s list, Aristotles Politics by Aristotle and editor Carnes Lord. One of the fundamental works of Western political thought, Aristotle's masterwork is the first systematic treatise on the science of politics. For almost 3 decades, editor Carnes Lord's justly acclaimed translation has served as the standard English edition. This new edition of Politics retains clarifying the flow of Aristotle's argument and identifying literary and historical references. A glossary defines key terms in Aristotle's philosophical, political vocabulary. Carnes Lord has made revisions to problematic passages throughout the translation in order to enhance both its accuracy and its readability. He has also substantially revised his introduction, presenting an account to Aristotle's life in relation to political events of his time, the character and history of his writings, and of the politics in particular, his overall conception of political science, and his impact on the subsequent political thought from antiquity to the present. And next up on his recommendations, The City of God by St. Augustine of Hippo. The human mind can understand truth only by thinking, as is clear from Augustine. St. Augustine of Hippo is one of the central figures in history of Christianity, and this book is one of his greatest theological works. Written as an eloquent defense of the faith at the time when the Roman Empire was on the brink of collapse, it examines the ancient pagan religions of Rome, the arguments of the Greek philosophers, and the revelations of the Bible, pointing the way forward to a citizenship that transcends worldly politics and will last for eternity. This book is one of the most influential documents in the development of Christianity. One of the great cornerstones in the history of Christian thought, The City of God is vital to an understanding of modern Western society and how it came into being. Begun in AD 413, the book's initial purpose was to refute the charge that Christianity was to blame for the fall of Rome, which had occurred just 3 years earlier. Augustine produced a wealth of evidence to prove that paganism bore within itself the seeds of its own destruction. However, over the next 13 years that it took to complete the work, the brilliant ecclesiastic proceeded to his larger theme, a cosmic interpretation of history in the terms of the struggle between good and evil. By means of his contrast of the earthly and heavenly cities, the one pagan, self-centered, and contemptuous of God, and the other devout, God-centered, and in search of grace, Augustine explored and interpreted human history in relation to eternity. For his next book recommendation, The Republic by Plato. One of the greatest works of philosophy and political theory ever produced, Plato's The Republic has shaped Western thought for thousands of years, remaining as relevant today as when it was first written in the ancient Greece. The Republic is widely acknowledged as the cornerstone of Western philosophy. Presented in a form of a dialogue between Socrates and 3 different interlocutors, it is an inquiry into the notion of perfect community and the ideal individual within it. During the conversation, other questions are raised. What is goodness? What is reality? What is knowledge? The Republic also addresses the purpose of education and the role of both women and men as guardians of people. With remarkable lucidity and a deft use of allegory, Plato arrives at a depiction of a state bound by harmony and ruled by philosopher kings. The introduction discusses contextual themes such as Plato's disillusionment with Athenian politics and the trial of Socrates. The new introduction discusses Plato's aims in writing the Republic, its major arguments, and its perspective on politics in ancient Greece, and its significance through the ages and today. Plato stands with Socrates and Aristotle as one of the shapers of the whole intellectual tradition of the West. He founded in Athens the Academy, the first permanent institution devoted to philosophical research and teaching, and the prototype of all Western universities. It is Plato's best known work and has proven to be one of the most intellectually and historically influential works of philosophy and political theory. And last up on his list, The Social Contract by Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Man was born free, but everywhere he is in chains. This man believes he is the master of others, and still, he is more of a slave than they are. How did that transformation take place? I don't know. How may the restraints on man become legitimate? I do believe I can answer that question. Thus began Rousseau's influential 1762 work, Du Contrat Social, arguing that all government is fundamentally flawed, and that modern society is based on a system that fosters inequality and servitude. He demands nothing less than a complete revision of social contract to ensure equality and freedom. Noting that government derives its authority by people's willing consent, rather than the authorization of God, Rousseau posits that a good government can justify its need for individual compromises, rewarding its citizens with civil liberty and the proprietorship of all he possesses. The controversial philosopher further suggests that promoting social settings in which people transcend their immediate appetites and desires leads to the development of self-governing and self-disciplined beings. A milestone of political science, these essays introduce the inflammatory ideas that led to the chaos of the French Revolution. These are the famous opening words of a treatise that has not ceased to stir vigorous debate since its first publication in 1762, rejecting the view that anyone has a natural right to wield authorities over others. Rousseau argues instead for a pact, or social contract, that should exist between all citizens of a state, and that should be the source of sovereign power. From this fundamental premise, he goes on to consider issues of liberty and law, freedom and justice, arriving at a view of society that has seemed, to some, a blueprint for totalitarianism, to others, a declaration of democratic principles. These are Martin Luther King Jr.'s top 5 book recommendations. I provided links in the description box down below where you can get any of these books. Click on those links and feel free to check them out. And thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, feel free to hit that like button. Have you read any of his recommended books? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep updated with the next top 5. If you made it this far in the video, I just wanted to give you a little reminder that you're an awesome person. Remember, to make each book you're reading count. Attempt out. I'll see you guys in the next video.